to the founding principles of Labour Party.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
Please, I humbly invite you to go back and do your research again and put your question in a proper perspective. My answer to her clearly was that the time for asking what the preference of individuals are between communism, socialism, and capitalism had been overtaken by events, by the success of the free world. That was my answer. When you do your research, okay, please underline the key terms, then match your key terms with the context of whatever conversation is ongoing. Then also match the context of what you have underlined, one, with whatever concept you are now bringing. The concept of socialism in Labour Party is not the same as the one you're talking of the principle of socialism as expounded by Karl Marx, his 6 points towards socialism. What Labour is saying, and look, the labor movements of the 1950s and 1960s, particularly in the UK, when labor unions became strong, when the rights of workers were begun to be heightened, were quite different from rural dwellers in China, in Russia, were quite different from when Lenin and Stalin, okay, were trying to use the psyche of their people to install themselves in power. With due respect, I think you missed the point completely, and the subject of such an important meeting like what Jerry and others are doing is to see how a political movement will solve the problems of Nigeria. Do not reduce us into petty arguments about what you said, how it clashes with that. You are unnecessarily flogging people like me. You will overheat the system and you will derail such important conversations. I beg you not to do this. Please get your facts right. Jerry, over to you,
I understand, sir.
Jerry, over to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I understand. We are not saying that I wanted to see your position in comparison to your party, which you are clarifying, because these are comments on different platforms about what you've said before, and we thought that because you just have a little time left because of the statement. That's why I put this to you immediately. So it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. Umi, do you have a question immediately?
Yes.
Sorry,
If you don't mind, okay.
Sorry?
I think Barrister Abdul is trying to talk, but the audio is not clear. So maybe Umi, you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So my question is, the one question that I know that is on the minds of every Nigerian at the moment. The security situation is at probably the worst that anybody has seen it. What are in your opinion, what are ways? Because clearly, we are struggling with security in this country. Nobody seems to know, how, to solve the problem. But with the Labour Party coming on strong and getting a lot of support, and being the, strongest opposition at the moment, what are the plans to curb, security to make Nigerians safer?
This is a very relevant question and that TAC would like to address. But just, Jerry,
Yes.
take a cue from what just happened. I made a clarification between communism and socialism, and you can see the misconception about it. Some weeks back, there was a comment I made about being addressed as a Nigerian. You know what happened? Now, the expertise of all of us, is starting to change from addressing issues into addressing non-issues. As relevant as this question is, I wish to plead with Omi and the rest of us to answer that question superficially, simply because of what we are starting to learn, what we are going through. Exactly what you said, the opposite is exactly what they would use. So you see, the era of even giving decent, honest questions is starting to be over, when everything, and if everything you say, people will take the opposite. But security in its own right, you don't come out saying exactly what you would, because it is security. Because if you say that, they will go, you've already given, it's like an exam, and you've given the answers. You've given the questions ahead of time. I can answer her question superficially. What labor is about is welfare. Welfare of our security agencies. And for that matter, all across, including teachers where I belong. The general premise that we take care of our security agencies, their feeding, health, accommodation, training, equipment, all covered by the kind of welfare, the remunerations we give. And of course, you know me, you listen to, I'm also about remuneration. What we save from procurement waste, we add it to remuneration. Labor is also about prudent leadership. Money will not be wasted. It will go to where it will work, and it will work well. These two answers that I'm giving you, we lead by example, okay? Nobody will see us, all our friends, relatives, or cronies, taking Nigerian money away. Nobody will lead by example. They will see it, they will feel it, they will know it is real. We're not saying one thing and doing another. That will go all the way down, including in the security agencies. Now, there's no overestimating the kind of success it will bring security-wise. The most simply leading by example. You say what you do, and you're doing it well. And then the second thing is, we will improve the welfare, including their equipment, their training, and everything. Beyond these 2 points, for me, I beg to say that let's just keep it where it is for now. But Nigeria will see better days very soon. You and I don't need to enter any controversy before somebody will now go and say, I underline this what you say. How does it clash with another one? Especially for security, don't want to Very next to you, over to you.
All right, thank you for that. Any follow-up, Umi, before I go to Barrister?
Yes, I would just like to say that, you know, I understand that you don't want to be misquoted, and you know, in the political terrain now, you know, there are a lot of things being taken out of context. But then, I mean, for the masses, a lot of times we need to hear, you know, as much as possible, so that it will help us to make these decisions. I mean, it might seem frivolous because a lot of people are concerned about, you know, particular things. So I'm sorry if some of our questions are going to seem like, you know, we're asking you things that are too sensitive or something that would annoy you. But, you know, people are really interested in, you know, hearing these things. And despite the fact that you might be misquoted, I think it's important that you get your voice out there and just, say it as much as you can.
All right, Umi, let me add this. We are going to heavily deploy technology. But the kind of technologies, of course, you know how to say it. Heavily, and then we will really, really find out all the things that have happened before we take any action. Again, you should understand what I mean. You are free to mark this one. We are going to really find out what happened. We'll not just get into office and start taking blind action. What really happened in the last 20 years? Right from first appearance in Yobe states and the actions that followed in Borno, the primaries, till now, 2011, 2015, and beyond. We will heavily use technology, heavily. Something I should tell you, and you're free to mark this. Every square meter of Nigeria will be accounted for. That is security. There is no such thing that there is a black spot, we don't know who is there. We will know who is at every square meter of Nigerian territory. The rest will be what action to take there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Barrister Abdul, if you, we can have you now ask your question.
Can you hear me, Jerry?
Well,
can you hear me?
We can, but the audio is still not perfect. It's a bit.
Is the audio better?
Yeah. So you can go on.
I'll be moving around my office to see if I can pick good. Yes. I have two questions, basically. Let me start from the trivial. First, good morning to Senator Datti Yusuf. It's my pleasure to be on this platform and to engage you. I want to start with the trivials. They are trivials, but they're also important to our national discourse. One, a lot of people don't know how old you are. There's confusion about your age in the public space. So if you don't consider it too private, how old are you, sir? And two, in the context of our politics, family is important. I know you are married, you have children. The information about your wife and children and the public space. Are you married? How many wives do you have? How many children do you have? 4 questions rolled into 2. If you allow me, sir, I want to go back to this debate about ideology. A lot of people think that those who own the forces of production in our country are bourgeois or bourgeoisies or owners of production. A lot of people do not understand some of the core beliefs, ideas and ideals that form our persons as individuals. The Labour Party say it's a socialist party. For me, it's an aspiration. It is an aspiration. So in the context of ideology, it is important for us to always push this position. Though ideology is important in national development, but with Nigeria raveling at the moment, what I consider as most ideological is for us to organize ourselves around a national platform to rescue our country. Whether you're a capitalist, whether you're a socialist in the aspirational sense, whether you're a Pan-Africanist, our concern should be about, rescuing our Nigeria, rescuing our country within, a national framework, a framework that recognizes the primacy of citizenship, the primacy of you and I, in developing our country. That's my position on this ideological debate. So, sir, to kick off, my 2 questions are: what is your age? Are you married? How many wives do you have? How many children do you have, sir? Thank you.
I'm 53 years old. First of all, there has never been any debate about my age. Some people probably, like, again, were in a hurry. The moment they heard about my nomination, they went online and picked old data, old pictures, and have been using it. There has never, ever been any debate whatsoever about or controversy about my age. People were simply in a hurry and didn't do the, you know what I mean, due diligence they were supposed to. I am 53 years old. I was born 7th July 1969. To the extent of my privacy, I'm married and I'm blessed with 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls, alhamdulillah. That much I'm very glad to answer you. Now, from the other submission that you made, look, the relevance of doctrines, mark my words again, the relevance of doctrines. What is more relevant in our own life in Nigeria today? Is it the prudence and care in spending our money that matters? Or some 80, 90-year-old philosophy? Is that what matters? These doctrines move with time. It is what is relevant to you that matters at that point in time. What matters to us in Nigeria, like you rightly said, rescuing Nigeria, building a better nation, is how well are we going to dispense our revenues. What is most relevant now is that you have a leader in Peter Obi. You have a follower in me or him, that all our lives have been about prudence. Spend Nigerian money well. Spend it intelligently. That is the doctrine you should worry about. You speak about production. Our GDP that is heavily reliant on agriculture, the feudal system has still not been against the ownership or utilization of land. Industries started coming up in the 70s and 80s, and by late 80s, they were already hemorrhaging. In the 90s, industrial capacity utilization flattened. Since then, it has been declining. So the relevance of the means of production, nobody is interfering with the means of production. Land, go and use the land, produce and sell. It's been okay. Those who have risen to industrial production have had a variety of challenges, including the falling value of the naira and inability of successive governments to manage the macro variables in the economy. These are the doctrines that are important. And Labour Party is not going to be oblivious to our present realities. We're not going to continue to hold on to 80, 90-year-old philosophies. When even Margaret Thatcher, when she was addressing the issue of incessant industrial actions, it was a huge departure from what you would then call the socialist principles of labor unions. And she succeeded. Then UK industries rose to what they were, huge exporters of automobiles and everything. Before, in the 1990s, they changed back to services. So and they are still well protected. Their industries are well protected. They have a very sound NHS. They have social insurance system. Accommodation works for them very well because they were realistically embracing the relevant issues of their time. Yes, thank you very much. Once again, there has never been any controversy about my age. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You know,
Jerry, perhaps as a follow-up, Senator Yusuf, that is of my generation, and I applaud the level of intellectual that he has brought to the boss. I mean, think about his position on the optimization of industrialization in our country. I think Umi raised the question would he and his principal here, I use principal loosely, Mr. Peter Obi, and be created, and the youths of our country can be taken away from some of the vices that we know that have become part of our nationhood, So for me, two questions here: how he and his party address the question of unemployment and poverty, that is tearing the fabric of our nation. Thank you.
I'm sure you've had consumption to production. That is a huge part of the answer that I'll give you. Labour Party, under the leadership of His Excellency Peter Obi, is making a turnaround of the whole country. We are moving away from mere consumption. We'll consume quite okay what we must, but then to production, we will produce all, particularly food. His Excellency Peter Obi said that the fertile land in the north of Nigeria is the crude oil of Nigeria. Now, getting the youth, getting farmers back to the land, again with the right technology, irrigation technology, which is what we are about technology in these modern times, use of correct fertilizers, chemicals, pesticides, all-year farming, you would immediately consume all the idle labor of the youth, the middle-aged, the aged farmers that are currently unemployed will wake up and find out suddenly there's a great deal of work to do. If you want me to go into specifics, there is, for example, the all-year farming, we link it to recycling. All the garbage that is out there, recycle it, produce the plastics, the polythene that we use in trapping water, and using it for the pipelines to irrigate. Encourage the closed-down industry to start production of pumps and allied equipment. You would have year-round farming with areas that are presently in Nigeria. Expand protein consumption through various means. Cattle that we have so much in Nigeria, a bit of agricultural extension service that will help gradually in the promotion of ranching, fattening of the cattle, collecting more milk, more schools to consume milk, cheese, families to consume more protein in their diets, promotion of vegetables. For example, you have a mushroom farms from Nasarawa to Plateau State, all around those areas that they grow. This is minor example that I'm giving you. These are of huge labor. Processing of agricultural produce, again, will consume a lot of labor. And we're just at that point, because the moment of the aggregate domestic demand for those, because we know how to remunerate better, create the awareness for such consumption. These are just small avenues for mopping up the labor that is taken away into banditry and insecurity. So many other jobs, personal care, promote the business of, for example, particular haircuts, ladies, and all those. Make them realize that the 30,000 naira you get per operation, you can earn it in a day simply doing haircuts. A barber that can earn 30,000 naira, that is the cost of one operation you get. Make that information go through. You don't have to do this, put your life at risk. It's easier to stay under a shed. We're stabilizing power. We're giving you solar to operate your equipment, create clusters that they can share the costs of. We will also earnestly bring down the cost of doing business. This I have been saying until it came progress with Peter of these principles. Professionals do not have to spend too much in starting a business. I've always been using, for example, a dentist. Imagine you want to open a dental practice. Do you have to rent for so long? Is there a system in which you can and then split your payment for the equipment, for your furniture, for your vehicles, everything else that you're buying? Remember, Peter Obi is a banking expert, he's a banking guru. Instead of spending, for example, naira to start business, which you may not have, we would like to bring it down to about 1.5 million, and you're doing the same business, 1.5 to 2 million. Now imagine if it is that easy to start a business, people will come in. And if it is a simple office secretary and a driver that you hire, it is employment. You start multiplying by tens of thousands. It is employment. These are things that we're after.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, before I yield the floor to Omi and Mr. again, I'd like to take you back to one of our activities when you talk about prudence, frugality, and to that, I want to ask, if and when you become your Labour Party, the Labour Party takes over governance in Nigeria, what is your take about the size of governance at the moment? Because that, if we're talking about prudence, the size of Nigeria's government at the moment should be, you have legislators who have SAs, PAs, and all that. So how exactly do you look at the size of government, and what do you intend doing in order to ensure prudence that you are talking about? Because cost of governance alone is a major challenge in
Gary, you already have an answer that you want, and I'm not so sure you want to hear my candid answer. And this is the kind of question that sets up someone like you. The more I say it now, I will not see the end of this. That is the truth of the matter. But allow me to answer you, even though you have a particular answer you want to hear. Let me answer you. It is really not the number of, or it's really not the size of government. It is what that size of government does. Do you agree with me? Because if the government is doing its work, then the bigger it is, the better for you.
Yes.
Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But typically, in our Nigeria, as we are now, everybody would like me to say, oh, will wipe out the legislature, will reduce all. Before you do that, ask questions as how can we make those numbers more productive? On the one hand, we are crying about unemployment. And then the legislature, for some reason, have mismatched their image, come and throw everybody out back into the unemployment market. Does that make sense? We have any agencies that are either duplicating or hardly have any holders ever. Well, is it not not better for the country as a whole? You give them the to do and make sure that deliverables of their services are obtained. The country enjoys the fruits of their labor than just to say, with you. Repeat, it is not actually the size that is our problem. It is the fact that they are yet unable to deliver as of government. There are certain aspects of our government or parts of our government that, if we had, will actually increase their numbers, multiply their numbers. In fact, the police.
Do agree.
Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Security agency. We must increase their numbers actively. We must increase their capacity deliberately. And we must increase the synergies between them and every other agency of government, including the legislature. So please, when you ask these questions, make sure that you have enough space for someone like me to be fully understood in context.
No.
Take it from this point. The problem here is not really the size of government, but the incapacity of the large government that we have. Labour Party is coming to change the incapacity. When we change that incapacity and bring them to full capacity, security agencies in particular, defense forces, thank you. But Jerry, I told you about the security coming now. You need my attention.
Private sector. What will the Distinguished Centralist Party do? One, to increase capacity in order to expand the productive base of the organized private private sector, so that more hands are employed. The market can be expanded, and this effect would be on the expansion of the economy. When we're talking of expansion or narrowing or downstreaming of the public sector, I think our attention should be on the private sector, because if the private sector is expanded, more hands unemployed youths can be taken by expansive space of production that we create. Beyond the argument about moving from consumption to production, I'm calling about the mechanics. How will good Senator and his party, if they come to 2023, help to expand our private sector, recognizing that Senator Datti from the private sector himself?
And a point of correction. You see, the private sector is not actually thinking. I think you're reading that with the declining economy, falling capacity utilization, mixing the two. The private sector, in comparison to the public sector, has never actually shrunk. There are two serious things, but quickly to get into answering your question. More responsive action from the government in terms of specific deliverables of every headline, of every heading, is what you should expect from Labour. Will automatically translate into whatever index is either declining to start rising, whatever negative index that you have, flatten and then start coming right back up. We wish to immediately stabilize the Naira. By stabilizing the Naira, the fear that you are being eroded every day stops. Your currency is now stable. You can earn on currency. That is a fundamental building block of the Labour government that we wish to stabilize. Nigeria's confidence that you can, and then the private sector, which I told you is different from capacity utilization, which has never shrunk, will now confidence itself and its capacity to continue investing in currency. We will also proliferate credits, but genuine credit. And this is what Peter Obi has done. Youngest chairman of a bank at that point in time. Phenomenal success. We want credit to reach rural dwellers, artisans, tradesmen, farmers, and everybody. Then market developers, all across, from variety of food consumption. Right now, so many Nigerians are not even aware of so many varieties of food that can produce and consume. For example, I ran into a lady who produces using mushroom. Mushroom is very healthy for the body. Very, very healthy. In addition to so many that can be grown, the market is not even aware of this. Now, we're the kind of leaders that think we're not too big, and that is labor for you. We are together with you. We're human. We are Nigerians like you. We went through before we became leaders. We were just the day before. So today we're not going to pretend we don't know what's going on. We bring every matter to the fore. Create these businesses, develop the existing businesses. The private sector has never been shrinking. In reality, what you mean to say is that declining industrial figures, that is correct. The private sector will continue to expand a labor party. Thank you. Jerry, please, if you don't mind, I have only 2 minutes. I'd like to continue. I don't want
this quick question I have, distinguished senator, about education. You are a stakeholder in education and you run a university. And ASU is currently on strike, and all the things you are talking about, whether capacity utilization or expanding productive base, requires producing more people with the intellectual capacity. What would you, the president just told us to just go back to work. What would have been your reaction in this kind of a situation where ASU is on strike? What would you say differently from what the president has said? would you say differently from what the president has said?
Well, I never wish to be equated to the way Buhari and people operate. We are completely different people, and it's really a misnomer to even try, I will say anything. We would have started operating differently right from 2015. What I would have done, not say it differently. What I would think my principal would have done differently would have been like 2015 when we came to power. Would have extracted the kind of agreement that would last their anticipated ages, particularly the ones that all the requirements of ASU would have been attended to. Those that are realistic, marked, provided for in the budgets, any additional source of income to make sure that their welfare, their equipment, their resourcing, their training practices. We would have done that way back in 2015 to postpone all the strike actions that had happened before now. So I'm sorry to say your question actually added because the likes of Buhari are, so to say, completely different worlds. There is no there's basis of as they say. We live in wastes as they do. We don't believe in saying one thing and another as they do. We match our words with action immediately. Yes, so there is no basis of comparison in this. We would have done way back what's the strike today in Nigeria. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, sir. At the last note, unfortunately, we are listening you much earlier than we planned, but it's understandable. Yes. So I was possibly asking you to close this with what is your message to Nigeria as a candidate in the coming election. What is your message to the general Nigerians?
I'm sorry, can I add a question that he can add to his closing remark?
Yes.
So for me, I would like to know what the Labour Party plans to do in terms of gender, because right now, women's inclusion is more of a superficial thing. We need to add women. Two women to show that women are being included, and the law that proposes gender equality has been thrown out over and over and over and over again. Gender equality, the Gender Equal Opportunity Bill. So I would like to know what you and your principal intend to do to ensure that more women are involved in at every sector.
Ladies first. Let me answer that question, please, Jerry.
Perhaps if you don't mind, just the last one. I'm sorry, my network.
Question so that I don't forget, please. Umi, just before you and as I told you that we match our words with action. Go back to our lives, go back to our undertakings, public and private, and try to rule for yourself. Right now, when His Excellency Governor Peter was the governor in Anambra State, please count the number of women in his government and compare that. You see that he constantly talks. Go to Bayes University. I beg you to, and find out the number of women who are there. And if you to the general students relation, women are in one of the convocation ceremonies, the ladies were getting twice more first class than the gentlemen. In the law that you spoke about, if by the grace of God Almighty we will support. I would like to see you, Umi, there with people in the national. We will support that law first. I hope I've answered your question. Our lives,
yes. Yes.
Our private and public lives have spoken in favor of gender representation or equality in the right context.
Thank you very much. You've answered my question.
I am asking you out and mine this data. What will give you comfort? Comfort. I like people who go out to confirm this, who research their work and their questions. Please go and do that. And to my other friends in this, please go and find out what I did about procurement in the National Assembly. I will give you further comfort. Jerry, what was...
Yes. As you're living, sir, if you've been following the social media, there is now an excessive culture in which we works. I'm sure you're familiar with the word useful from your first name. What specific useful message do you have for obedience who are here as you bid us farewell?
Thank you so much. You see, Nigerians are very, very creative and ingenious. Believe me. If you left, you would never have come up with kind of words. But before you knew, Nigerians brought it up. Please assume I'm the one speaking for modesty reasons. The fact of the matter is that Nigerians have never had it so good when it comes to prospects of who is going to bring you out of a bad situation. I remain to be corrected, but I know my facts well. With all modesty, all that Nigerians can look for in a leader have now been presented to Nigerians. My message, brothers and sisters in Nigeria, do not throw this opportunity away. You're not likely going to get this. A Peter Obi, with all the track records behind it, going all the way out to find somebody like me, because there is more vision ahead. Nigerians will not throw this away. I don't know a better way to say it. Vote intelligently. Remove sentiments. This is our leadership. It's not about your particular faith. It's not about who's leading your ethnic group. It's about Nigeria that is a defined political entity. This is what 2023 election is about. The candidates are already known. They're already defined. It can never be difficult to make a difference between four individuals. Four individuals, just four. God has given you the power to think. God has given you the power to feel what is going on in your environment. And He has given you the power to know these four people. If you make a mistake, that mistake is yours, nobody else's. And it is not a difficult thing to say, sir, you are too old for this. The weight of Nigeria is going to break your back. You, sir, you are too heavy for this. Nigeria's weight is too heavy for you. We need strong people that work 16, 17, 18 hours a day for Nigeria. Nigerians should not find it difficult to track the purpose of everybody, like I have told my friend Umi to do. Go to a number state, go to the businesses that he has established. With all modesty, and see what I've done. With all modesty, is it difficult to choose from four? Every day we are faced with choices in our lives, from what we eat to what we wear to where we go, to who we associate with. Nigerians don't make that mistake, because if you make it this time, such opportunity comes God knows how many times in our lifetimes. That's my message. I can't this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished. We have had and hopefully maybe some other time we'll be able to drag you back here.
I'm really sorry about the questions that either I didn't answer so satisfactorily or I for such a reason still.
Thank you very much.
All my corrections were completed. Thank you so much.
It's fine, sir. So for those of us that are quickly create your indulgence to help attend to this very short poll. Okay, it's not even ready. So we go ahead. The next guest on this session is actually going to be the candidate of the Lagos State gubernatorial. The Lagos State gubernatorial candidate, his vice or his deputy, that's a gender, or the actress Funke Akindele. We are working on that, and that's going to be in tweets. Details will be out, and we have to say thank you. Unfortunately, the last 15 minutes of this session is supposed to be the general participants to ask him questions. And because they had mentioned it, he had to leave early because he needed to join a security meeting. So thank you for being part of this session. Holding talks continues. It's not fixed. There's no fixed time. The moment we get someone who is willing to talk to us, especially in this period of electioneering, we are going to be bringing more and more of these political actors to share their dreams, to share their plans, and for us to engage with them. That is the whole essence of the holding talks. And we will look forward to seeing you next time we call. Thank you. Umi?
Thank you very much, Jerry. Okay. Thank you very much. And for those of you who have been watching on Akweya TV, that was our conversation with the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, distinguished Senator Yusuf Datti-Ahmed, in which he addressed a lot of issues relating to the present-day Nigeria and how the Labour Party is planning to rescue the nation. He has disclosed that they are going to work with his principal, Peter Obi, to ensure that Nigeria moves from consumption to a production kind of economy, and that they are also going to ensure that they provide for critical sectors, provide for the welfare of workers, provide for welfare of the security agencies in order to deal with issues of security. They are also going to deploy a lot of technology and provide support to businesses so that they are able to create more jobs. On the smaller level, he cleared the air about his family. He said he's aged 52 years old. He's 52 years old. He is married with 6 children, and those 6 children, there are 3 boys and 3 girls. So in conjunction with our Roger Theatre, we are going to bring you more of these sessions. Thank you for staying with us.